We don't have a quorum, so I just want to welcome everybody to the January 2nd work session, 5 o'clock, I think, 5:01. We can, Mr. Ritter, you want to start us off? Go from there. You first one on the presentation list. Sure. Work session on road condition report.
And we've got Commissioner Kitchens on Zoom with us, so he can, and I'm sharing my screen so he can see the presentation. So we've got a couple things I want to go through with y'all. You all remember we hired a company sometime back to go out and they ride all the paved county roads. There's film of all the county roads. So in this report, we can click anywhere and see the actual video that was taken. And that's kind of what you see playing here. But there's the report that goes along with this is in Excel. It breaks it down by how many feet of each road is in these different categories over here: excellent, good, fair, critical, or lost. And so we've got the full Excel report that kind of shows you, how many feet on each road.
The first page, it goes through excellent, good, fair, critical, and lost, and what they are, just to give you an idea.
So here's your list. All the roads in the county are included. There are some here that are in the city that we wouldn't have to worry about. And then there are some that we've seen through this list, maybe private roads that we'll have to, we can just, ignore those. But you've got a PCI, pavement condition index, I think is what that stands for each road in the county. And I've got this sorted from worst to best. And so it gives you a score for each road. And then these are the footages, linear feet in each category. So obviously, and at the top of this list here, a lot of these have a substantial portion of it are in that red category. And I think, Tim and Sean can talk a little bit more about this, but I think when you get into that lost column, you're looking at having to do full depth calculation on those to get them back into good shape. So we've got this. I've got the map here. If there are particular areas that you all want to look at, really what I hope this will be useful for is formulating the LMIG list, for this year and in future years. And want to submit our list for LMIG. We've got 734 is the amount we get from the state. And you add our 30%, 954, 200 that you got to work with for this go around. One thing that kind of a conversation that the three of us have had is all need to kind of settle on an approach to dealing with these. Do you want to, there's obviously a good deal of yellow and orange on here. One approach would be, do you try to save some of those from getting to red, or do you go directly to the red and try to address those? Knowing that we've got limited resources and it may be some time before you can get to the orange and the yellow. But that's a discussion for y'all to have, just kind of decide on which approach you'd like to take there. But I'll stop talking and turn it over to Sean and Tim for comments they have on all that.
I just want to say that we've got a considerable amount of fair condition roadway in our network. If we do the worst first approach, I'm fearful that we'll have
we'll have a lot more of the lost, in the lost category if we take that approach. Discussed in our meeting about, maybe trying to set aside funds for micro surface and cape seal, things like that to make the roadway, the ones that are good candidates for it, that will make the roadway last 10 years. And that'll give us a chance to, bring some of these lost ones along in our full depth reclamation projects. Like that. 'Cause I think if we, and you correct me if I'm wrong, if we wait until, if we just take the worst roads, that's only gonna get us so far every year. But if we're not doing some of those fair roads, to kind of bring them into the good category, then they're gonna be red and then lost category before we know it.
Yes, Chris, you say the microsil, we're not talking about that. Something totally different than chip seal, right? Kind of sort of, you got, look at microsil as something, another product.
Yeah, microservice is not chip seal. I mean, 10,
Yeah,
expand on
well, I've seen it put down a couple of times, but it's got a cement in it added to it, I think, the microsurface. The chip seal is good for sealing cracks. That's what it's good for. Keep you out of the mud.
Yeah, I've seen some areas on Highway 11 state, state park transportation. They did some curved areas up there. Is that a micro seal? It's a hot chip seal. It's a specialty coating. You get a couple curves.
It may be, I need to write it here.
It's a new product. Yes.
And I'll tell you, from looking at this, you've got 11 roads that have a PCI, pavement condition index, of less than 50.
Copy of that, so. Yeah, we'll come up with a good way to print it out. It's a huge,
Yeah,
it's got a printout of it that's,
24 by 36, and it's about 8 pages. Cause it's about, it's a full 36 inches wide to get all the columns in it.
I mean, that's probably the only way to see that aggregate. It is what it is, right? It's a
Yeah.
big dock. I got a pretty decent sized dining room table, and I got a floor in the room that I have to lay it out to make it make sense, because I see it, right? And I'm tactile. I'm not a visionary learner. I've got to have it. And this is nice. It's pretty met. But I'd love to see that. And then I'd like to see the dollars associated with it.
That many dollars that been put with it. Question's gonna be is how are you gonna approach it? Because looking at this, in my mind, it's gonna be tough to approach it any other way than a T-Splash.
Of course.
Because Henderson Road is one of the bad roads. Grizzleville Shortcut is another one. Those two roads will probably take 4 years what they'll need, maybe 5, right off the bat. And you hadn't touched any of the 150, 200 other ones.
I mean,
Or any of the dirt roads.
or any of the dirt. The ladies from coming here. I mean,
If we don't fix these paved roads, they'll always be dirt.
Right.
So it's a fair figure, or the numbers.
it's kind of like water and sewer too. You know, the can has been kicked a long time down the road, and we have some just general neglect, and then general road degradation is going to happen because of use. And so you have to bite the bullet at some point, right? And I don't know what that number is looking like. You know, if I had to guess, it'd be way over $40 million, right? To tackle a project this big. Our budget doesn't do it. T-Splosh gets us there pretty quickly or faster. I'm gonna muddy this a little bit. Liquor gets us there quicker. And you have to do everything, and then go after the bond as well. Make it make sense, because I live on a county road, and I don't get any service, so the least you can do is take care of it, right? That's what everybody's saying. And we have to have an all-in approach that is gonna last 10 or 20 years. This is not gonna happen overnight. Even if you hired everybody to get this done, this is gonna look like that intersection in Macon. It's gonna take a while to get done. But if we don't create a solid and put the funding in place, we spent a whole lot of money to get some information that we already need. That's a bad road.
And I'll tell you something else you may wanna take a look at, and I don't know what it would take to do this. You've got a lot of subdivision roads that are just terrible.
Are you saying the subdivision road is not built properly?
I'm telling you, they're terrible.
I agree, I just want,
He's got one of the worst subdivisions. Trotter's Ridge is not that old. It's got a terrible score on it. I mean, there are a lot of subdivision. What's the subdivision the other side of Dames Ferry? Huckabee?
Henry and.
Yeah, all of that out there is most all of it's red, probably 90% of it's red. I mean, there's a lot of subdivision. There's a lot out in the 49 area. I mean, this,
And we gotta address that, we gotta fix it, right? And I know supposedly we put in, oh, here are the minimum standards for roads, and I don't know that,
minimum is never good enough.
that part. And then I don't know that we ever went back and updated it either. You know, and some of the old guys might have been operating under some of the old rules, because we didn't go out and inspect the road we didn't put in. You know, well, Joe's out there, okay, it's a good road. It's a good road for today, but not 8 years later. And I don't know how old some of the subdivisions are, but they're not that old, the roads having that level of degradation.
They don't have the heavy traffic, that's logging, just resident or advanced occasional pickup.
buses and trash trucks.
Hampton Lakes was terrible at 1.2. Still
It
there.
still is.
We know that one. So, I would love to know, like, how we aggregate the data in terms of miles, and what the anticipated projected dollars could be based on even today's numbers. You know, like, it's not gonna stay the same, just so we have a real picture with this. I'd rather know I've got cancer and I can get treated. And,
Well, if you look at what Jason did, number 7, John L. Drive, just the roads 1192, 95, 252, and 110. That's how long it is of that total length. 75% of it's critical or lost.
Is that a private drive then?
It may be. That's they wrote everything. We're slowly pulling stuff out that's we don't know that's county.
But you know what, even though it is private, I would look and know, hey, you got a private road and it's terrible. Here's what it costs to get fixed. And
But the last person that did something is a logger. And took his log, took us there. I don't like that.
That's right, that ain't Commissioner Wood, touched on something about the logging. Last year I was very, say opinionated on the new rule that they're allowing, showing that they're gonna kill somebody. Cause, log trucks basically haul 100,000 pounds now. Craziest thing I ever seen in my life. And, but the next craziest thing is, when they asked me how they needed to vote, I said, you need to vote against it. But my question is the state gonna give us any extra money because you got trucks went from 80,000 pounds to 100,000 pounds.
Already had 80 on 110 some days.
Yeah, so I mean, they're just,
130, 25, 30, the tires go off.
you know, they're about 100,000 with the road. And I mean, I got one of my friends that used to haul off, I asked him his curiosity. I said, since they went to this ruling, what are you hauling on average, ton wise? Well, back in my day, 20 years ago, 25 tons was 11. Now they're at 32 ton average. That's out of the weight on average for a whole year for a truck. And that's more extra weight that these roads already couldn't stand the 80, now we're, pushing 100. And they're gonna have to come forward. I mean, they, every time that conversation comes up, they won't hear it. The state gonna have to come up, they're the ones that sit there and voted to allow this, and, it's, 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 gonna fall right, because again, it's gonna go with all, it's falling on our shoulders. Because we got roads now that can't stand it now, but all the extra weight, which one we just did had so much,
Samir,
cement.
it's an excellent shape now.
Actually saving it now, but we tore it up on one truck. We can't keep them coming. We can keep them off the bridges, but we can't keep them going across.
So, but you can, and you clarify this, you can charge them for use this, because we know our bond is barely does enough. Nobody really goes after the bond. If you're logging, here's the impact fee for logging. If there's such a thing, you can't do
I
that.
already, I did that last year too.
Yeah.
The $50,000 bond, state law bond, that Skip considered that after I, sitting through about a 2 hour meeting, and I talked to her, about an hour and a half on. For my knowledge of logging, I told them it needed to be a statewide bond that each logger had, and they even did it online now, so you actually get online and do that 2019, you can go online now and do your bond process.
I am okay with that, but an impact fee for being on our road, is that a notch?
I don't think you do it, that bond. That bond used to be $25,000,
I remember the joke,
and, they got $50,000.
but I'd be curious to find out now that ACCG can a county do an impact fee, or different immediate impact fees for construction? If you're logging in our county, there's an impact. There's an impact to our road that condemning in fear of. And if they're on one of these red roads already, you're in trouble. We got nothing out of it. I mean, nobody, well, you got cars on tender, but so what? Like there's,
That's great, too. It's called the bond.
when's the last time you've done that? That's enforcement. We're not doing it. Okay.
Sorry. Sean, what's your thoughts where we need to go now? Take y'all's advice. I mean, you got a great layout here.
Well, I'm like Tim, you know, I think T-Splosh is nothing, but trying to get this data and put a hard number to it is gonna be the step that we figure out how much will go toward that fair index. But if we leave, like I said, if we leave it alone and just go after the worst ones, that would be the worst thing we could do, in my opinion.
Sean, I mean, not Sean, Jason, can you email that to us, 600? Roads are ranked from, how many roads did they check? Just out of curiosity. I know all of them, but,
I do not.
I believe it's 300,
so we have from 340.
324 miles.
324 miles. So do we have that ranked from worst road to number one worst road, or?
What Jason did, and I've done as well, you go to the PCI, the pavement index, and sort it lowest to highest, and that ranks from the worst one in the county to the best one in the county.
It's 617 total. And there's some state routes, a little bit of, some of those got moved, so that number's probably inflated just a little bit, but somewhere in the 600 neighborhood.
City of Gray too.
Yeah,
Yes.
And I think we
And
have,
is it only paid?
it's only paved roads.
I think we have, to share that data with the city and the state too. Hey, you know, these are roads and you guys need to do something about it. And then if there's a comprehensive plan, we're going out to bid, and the city, you know, obviously has some resources. Now's the time to get in while the screws are here. To do, and statewide too, you collect a bid, pay the state. I don't know. We can throw some really good money at it, because we're all really.
Your point, they lost. They was last year, the city did, okay, part of it. Across county roads. to Get to theirs. So,
Well, in some games, we couldn't because we
they
already,
already said,
anyway,
like that, would make it better. It all in one pass, that would heavy in, heavy out.
Are they gonna come back and do anything for the dirt road side of it? Or are you only looking at paved road side?
We've been only looking at paved roads.
I just think it's unfair that you've got all these dirt roads that need to be paved. And we still just keep pushing them back, back, and back to go repave roads that were done poorly in the first place.
You know, it was disappointing, 'cause you chose some people on dirt roads we can support.
This was always just about paved roads, right?
That sounds good, but when the young lady was standing here, we told her to wait until that report comes through. Non-screen.
Sean, give her an update.
Okay,
Spring, you were gonna go in there. Cause if this ain't the time of year to do it.
I'm just telling you what we do.
What part of Mountain Springs was she in?
It's all dirt.
Yeah, Mount Springs is short.
Mount Springs is the one from Pitts Chapel to, Brisbane.
Okay.
Chapel Church is over the road.
I don't want to be close to people's roads and not include it, they're gonna have the same question. Because if anybody in here sat in the meeting, whether we put a politics and selective here or not, they heard Ro's report, road assessment. And the basic premise of it, I live in the road. It was true or otherwise.
I mean, sitting here in this position, I thought it was gonna be all roads, not just paved.
I understood it was just paved.
I'm confused, I thought it was paid, so I mean,
That's what my understanding.
yes, they were. We know we got problems, dirt, there's dirt road we got, you know.
That's right, same way, right away, so required.
We're still working through that process, and so we had old surveys on a couple of those roads. And we thought it would be easy to just reuse the old surveys, and Jim and I, and, the company we've engaged to help with all that, got to looking at that, and the road building standards of 30 years ago are not what they are now. So, we're having to go back through and get some of those roads resurveyed. So the paving process is really long, and it's worth pursuing for sure, but I mean, it just takes a long time. Right away acquisition piece of it and everything else.
Some of those roads, I thought we tried to negotiate with the group or the company to go do some of that for us.
They are, and so we've got a company engaged. The county done long before any of us. But those surveys are 25 or 30 years old, and that company came back to us and said, look, we can go out and start acquiring based on this, but I mean, I don't know that you can build roads, based on what's shown here. And so.
Some of the surveys didn't take into account that you had a 30-foot embankment on one side and you had to have slope easements. That a bridge was only 20 or 25 foot wide, and it was not as wide as the road would be.
Right.
And things like that.
So did we just throw out all of those, or like Shady Road Plaza, right? So I think that was one of those that I think had a survey.
No, that was one that we are going to have surveyed. And
Skinner Road.
Skinner Road was on the list, but it wasn't one of the four that the board approved. The other, see, it was Shady Road Plaza, McKay, Cheehaw, and
Luke Smith.
Luke Smith. Those were the four that we've started working on. Two of those were,
Education gave us, okay, Chi-Hall, because we thought, new school off of Grove. Over, the track. I do. But, took guessing kids, 5 years ago on that. But see if there's a future plan for it. And I think you give that information, Chuck, the next road, hopefully need to be added. Just for the speed, that's why we don't get all back to this. Good turn with at the push road through there. And that turn, that road that's speed turn with, I promise you, it's not, it's paved, but it's narrow. It's narrow, it's not, what we're talking about now, it's bad.
But most roads are still unlit until they're
If she's not, I think she all been surveyed now.
Yeah, Donaldson here is, I think they're just about done with, that was kind of the most straightforward of the, probably something they can give about, Shady Road Plaza, because half of that's in, to be a, drawings and things from them, forwarded that on to surveyors. Looks like they were having to resurvey parts of that. And McKay, that we're having to get parts of that resurveyed.
Big sheet out, they got two phone calls on those, and they're out there doing survey thing.
Plats before were surveyed for a line. Not taking into account any kind of elevation, any kind of fields, any kind of lakes along the way, any kind of steep embankments, bridges, or any major culverts. And most of the areas that being resurveyed deal with one of those items, or some of them deal with more than one. Blue Smith has got a lake on one side and it's different issues. When Mr. Thornton did them years ago, they just didn't worry about it. Just ran line that went.
That's why it looks good, that been paved, just because that lake, and I think that's what they got there, for a little stop. That's gonna be a major indicator. Very certain. It's, um, a lot of trouble, problem.
So, providing that we put T-Splosh on the ballot, it passed. We have our traditional LMA, maybe there's some fund balance. How will we prioritize the completion of those roads? Because there's a lot of yellow and a lot of red across the county. And that's the list for however long. You just got, normal wear and tear on regular roads, got high use roads. How do we balance that out? Because I'm road 621. Not to be exactly ecstatic about it, but we have to have a ranking system now that we have the rating system in place, so that there's equity across the county getting done. I don't want to be the guy in District 4 going, well, you know what? Because these are not necessarily high use roads like Samota or some other very bad roads that because Homer Roberts is there, that it just goes down, even though it might be in better condition. How do we do that across the board for the district?
Well, how to, fund that, I'm just thinking, you made two comments, T-Splosh and package sales.
And move.
But I wonder if we could take package sales. I might have, just ask a question, we could take those two and find the road.
That's my motive personally.
I don't know if we could take package sales, the government state tax, I don't know if it's gonna be divided. Those two paths could dedicate those two different roads. We as county got to come up with a way to cover all this excess damage we're gonna have, the weight that allow. It don't need to be on the shoulder of, homeowners out here, it needs to be something else.
I don't disagree with that, you know. Counties, commissioners, or commissioners of what, roads, right? Our responsibility. To get off the county road, yeah, without doubt, it's state. Some of these roads have been in existence long before I was born, and I was playing on them, my grandfather was playing on them. And some of them haven't had pavement in almost as much time. So those roads, we absolutely have to do. Part of the state, you have to do that, you gotta do to get the state to do their part. But from a T-Splosh perspective, from a package sales, absolutely. Then we get to the end of the year around that June, July time, and we found the next dedicated. If we settle for us, so you can pay down payment later, it's gonna cost way more later, we already know that. I'd rather go in and say, all right, here's all this stuff we've got, give us this price. Again, if we got 4 contractors, if we got 4 districts, whatever, here's the best price. No, don't call me later with the price of diesel bill, that's not our problem. Because we waited on some projects because the PVC piping, they cost 20-30% more than water and sewer. That's not.
I'd like to point out one other thing. Fair is by far the most mileage that you have, the fair ring. But good is the second most. So it's kind of like water coming into the boat. If you don't dip it out fast enough, this good is going to eventually wind up air capture as we go along. So kind of look at that as we go too in pavement preservation techniques to keep those in that good category. And that goes back to the micro surface, scrub surface, fog seal, other techniques that are out there to improve these roads.
I have the question that appreciate, but are we getting back into the roads business ourselves? Because we're gonna find out that it's cost prohibitive, even with T-Splosh and maybe package sales, that it will take us 100 years to get these roads.
Life generate in a year. Couple million. Splash, is that split along the same lines as what our population, or is it, how is that divided up here?
I'd have to check that. I can't remember how it works with T-Splosh, and they've changed it several times since it first came into being, but, yeah, I think there's still some incentive to do an intergovernmental agreement. I think, I'll research that, send it out to everybody. Kind of first.
Yes, the addendum to that question is, how flexible do we get to be T-Splosh when it serves delivery shut? That's split. Can it be different? I'll check that.
From what I've seen in other communities, if that's the city and this is the county, you pay right there. And you don't go any further. Now, I've seen some communities where the city gave up all their T-Splosh money to the county, and they've come in and done everything. They've looked after everything.
I'm not stingy, but I'm hoping.
Well, the Biggest one I've dealt with and worked with on a regular basis has been Bacon County, and they're near, and they've got probably 3 more years in their T-Splosh. And it is accelerated because of the collections, because they've been so strong. So their 10-year T-Splosh is probably gonna be 7, maybe 8 years. And it'll take 2 full T-Splashes to get them straightened out. And they'll probably pay a half a dozen moves in the process. But, you know, these roads 3-4 miles, and they're not half mile, 3/4 of a mile. They're long, like what you're dealing with McKay Road and Luke Smith. Down there, everybody's got a pond. So there's a lot of environmental issues. But it'll take 16, 18 years.
Figure they take a
Guarantee you that.
I like clarification as far as, you know, the good. If we're doing fair, how quick they can come there, and, you know, we got to rep everything. To me, I look at it, that's easy, we just get through all the critical. That critical list is gonna get bigger and bigger, we don't sit there and adjust those. Probably some of these heavier traffic ones, more in the agricultural realm, forestry, stuff like that, that's, I think you're gonna find a lot of those, will be the ones that folks hold up as far as that part residential. That the county inherited after the vote.
Hopefully, looking at your numbers, critical and lost 15.1%, that's about 50 miles for the road of your 324 miles. And you're,
So how much percent, I'm sorry,
it's about 15.1,
percent?
so that's about 50, that's 48.9 miles.
That's a fair category.
That's your fair category. And then your other one, fair, is 137.7 miles.
That's why I asked you to get back in the road.
Right now, I don't think we need to get road business, somebody else.
you doing?
Rest of it,
Yes, man.
we got, what we're doing, right? Just give you a heads up, we got roads now, we built, we didn't need to,
You know, I'm just gonna say this, if you have the wrong man doing a job, you probably do it twice. But 100 miles, and we're paving how many miles a year without me right now? Right? You have 100 and what, in here? You're better, but, I mean, yeah, talking about, or they still in here.
We're only talking about repave today. We ain't even talking about dirt roads.
Just saying.
he's sponsored by, past last time,
Amen.
we had $10 million back, I got the president of this county, this road,
We're putting that on the agenda.
because it's not, it's coming off the rooftop, so it don't need to be rooftop, it needs to be something, you know, everybody can contribute to, whether they get passed or not. You know, you take the T-spot and the package sales and here market for one thing, county transportation under the roads. That's the thing, you wouldn't have to would advance. That would be, right here, on fire. Fire on the inside. It's all right, because I heard his comment he was
I didn't
actually,
even know it's over there.
and the comment was, I sure hope
Man,
y'all
don't
put
know.
that on your agenda, because he said, first of all, then he's like, close his door down, because he makes a living off Joe County right now, a nice living, because he's right across the county line. So, tell him, you know, what's going out, and you, I think you looked at them.
Yeah, there was a bleed report, I can't remember what the number was, but it was insane. Do you remember the alcohol bleed for Bill County? I can't remember.
Are you calling me?
I was stupid and rapping.
That was just it, what did we,
I mean, one being on the other side of the county.
actually, one comments come out of Baldwin County.
Yeah.
Most of this is,
Yeah.
comes from John.
Well, I mentioned, he's talked back before the holidays, maybe in November. November meeting, I checked with Mary to see when you could put it on the ballot in 2024 and when you have to notify the Secretary of State. So the next one that you can put it on the ballot would be May 21st, the primary. The deadline to notify the Secretary of State would be February 19th.
Next standing meeting.
And then you could, the next one would be in November, general election deadline. Would be August.
Hey, Jax. Pretty good chicken.
So, we had a voter TVs, like the voter TVs with five, and me. Smaller turnout.
Representation of it.
That. I like the pass.
We gotta educate too.
Gotta be careful, we're limited on, we can educate. One of my pastors has certification. Can't do it.
Bring the other pass you got in the window. If you do it, you bring it, have to do it. Especially if you go to the mouth.
Great. Alex, check on that.
I'm not getting.
Yeah. I think we'll be spread these.
Okay.
There.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
I can hear all the conversation, but I'm around the team hall, but I just wanted to provide everybody that I think we get a good game plan of how many roads, dollar amount, I apologize for the calls today. Get a dollar amount and get a good game plan and we can put it out to the public. But it has not passed in the past, so, we need to really educate folks to, just the conversations that we were having, how long it will take to do it with the LP we got now, and how much more we can get done with the people. And I think I'm working on enough law program that you gotta lay out a plan, you gotta sell it to the people, and you gotta stick to your plan and do what you say you're gonna do. So we don't get 5 years down the road and they're not passing because we didn't do what we said we're doing. So I think this is a great start, having roads, labeled and analyzed and assessed, so we can get to that point.
Sam. Can you hear?
Sam, I don't know if you could hear, Commissioner Martin had a question for you.
So you can ask him primary or general election?
Could you hear that, Sam?
Primary or general election,
Yes.
I've always been a proponent of the least amount. I mean, the ones that are wanting to vote for something are coming out to vote, so my opinion would be primary. If we can get it and, promoted enough by then. Because you have a lot of people come out in the general election in November, vote for presidential or state or federal several that may not come to a primary, and, you know, that, I just think if you go to look for something, you can come out and look for, just come out and vote for presidential election. We know we get a lot more voters, do it right. If some of those are no's, then, yeah.
One other thing y'all need to consider, you look at Jason's column, a lot of these roads are 20 foot wide. Standard is 24. So you're gonna go in and add 2 to 3 foot of widening on each side, and then overlay all of it, level it, and then overlay it.
And everything just gotta be. Fine.
The residential stuff wouldn't matter, but Henderson Road, Grizzleville Shortcut, Line Tie, those different sections that have the truck traffic on them and the log traffic, they really need to be a 24 foot width.
Do it once, do it right. I'm a cyclist, so I want to widen the road. Personally, I don't like a bicycle lane, but you know.
Oh, you want to make a
I
pipeline
would like
too?
a bike lane, because you know, I go over Grand Highway on a bike, so,
Okay, we say,
yeah, I would like a bike lane, but build it once, build it right. Make it right. Come see me on the road, you expect it.
any more comments or thoughts? Things that we need to do, we got about 10 minutes before, any citizen comments on our work session? So. Huh?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Thank y'all. Jason, did you
Great
write
work
what
with that
already?
I'm gonna email that one, I emailed